All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back and it is Ask an Advisor and we are live. And guess what? I don't know if you are as excited as I am, but we in Legal Studies have a brand new academic advisor. So I'm Dr. Kobles, I'm the program coordinator, and welcome to Ask an Advisor Live. And with me today, I have the absolute pleasure of introducing you to Mrs. Kristal Johnson.
Hello, everybody.
All right, and Mrs. Johnson has come to us as our new academic advisor. She's joined the legal studies team. So what we're going to do today is we're going to give you guys a chance to get to know Mrs. Johnson and know how she's going to fit in with our team, know how she's going to work in the department, what her goals are as the academic advisor for our program, what she's hoping that she can bring to you guys as the students, as the prospective students, because we are always hoping to help people who are thinking about legal studies and any other questions you guys might have. So definitely feel free to ask your questions. Just a little reminder, guys, that even though she is our advisor, please, for the love of God, don't ask us your specific questions about your specific degree. Don't post questions with your UCF ID.
Right.
I mean, if you're going to do that, make sure you also post all of your other information so that if somebody wants to steal your identity, they can do that too, because that's just craziness, all right? Okay? So we're going to start with, I'm going to let Mrs. Johnson explain to you guys how she got started in advising.
So I've been with the university for 11 years now. I absolutely love it.
All right.
Not a cliche, I absolutely love it. I got my bachelor's degree from here. I am working on my master's degree. Should be graduating this semester. I say should just because, oh my God. Anyway, so we're not going to go into that.
So we'll see you at the arena during graduation.
Exactly.
All right.
But got into advising kind of like, I didn't know that it was such a passion and interest of mine.
Right.
I worked on the administrative side for a long time and knew a lot about processes and protocols and classes and waivers and this and that and the third. And so I just kind of eased right on into it and didn't need a lot of training because I had all of the background knowledge. But I love it. I love working with students. I've done a lot of sessions with groups and individuals, parents, even when they have certain questions or concerns. So I've seen a variety of things. I can't say I've seen it all or heard it all, but I've heard a lot. So I'm willing and able to work with all of our students and get them on the right track or continue to stay on the right track.
Now, legal studies isn't your first department here at UCF.
No, I worked in the college advising office, so still health and public affairs. So a lot of the people that I'll meet, I've met before.
Oh, that's wonderful.
In the other office.
Yeah. So shout out there to you, Miss Renty, down in USS. Not that we possibly took one of your best employees up here, but hey, I love Miss Renty and I love USS. They're a great resource.
Yes.
So maybe you can explain to some of our students what USS, Undergraduate Student Services, is and the difference between what we're doing up here and what they can do for them downstairs.
Right. So Undergraduate Student Services is the college advising hub for waiver questions if you needed something reviewed in terms of, GEP questions and things like that. Although they don't advise for GEP, but they can definitely help and assist and get you on the right track with that. They have academic advisors. Their gamut is everything under the sun. Our focus is on everything under the sun of legal studies and getting students prepared for, graduate school and careers and things like that. And there's a lot of opportunities with the legal studies department, student organizations, honors, research, internships, study abroad, you name it, you can find it with our office.
Okay. So now I know, right now it's the week of Thanksgiving, our students are getting ready to break for classes.
Right.
So everyone's excited about Thanksgiving.
Right.
And then people are coming back and we're going to be heading straight into finals. So do you have any advice for our students who are finishing up this semester? And I know we got a lot of people graduating, so congratulations to anyone who's going to be graduating.
Woo-hoo.
But what's your advice for people who are getting themselves ready for the next semester?
So there's so many moving plates going on. At this point, people are trying to end the semester with a bang and getting through last minute touch-ups with their papers or assignments or whatnot. So focusing on that would be the main thing, especially if you're trying to, regroup or whatnot from other situations or other things going on. So, because our students don't have just academics, some of them are parents, some of them are helping their families. So, and they're working full time and things like that. So the other part of that is making sure, though, that your spring registration is in order. It only takes a few minutes to put those courses in your cart and hit enroll. Finish enrolling, because if you do not enroll before the first day of classes, you will be subject to late fees. And then you have the stress of trying to get overrides. And once the class closes, it is very hard to get an override. So if you find that classes are waitlisted, get yourself on the wait list. The only way to get yourself on that wait list is to finish enrolling. And that way you get a position number to be in that class. So you have a couple of moving plates in terms of finishing up your fall, but you definitely want to put emphasis on spring so that you're not behind. Because the goal is to get you to graduate.
Right. So here's a question. So say you've got students out there who are kind of stuck, and right now they're not sure, should they be enrolling, should they be, or they're just not sure what classes to take. Right. What's your advice for them in terms of what steps they should be taking right now?
I would say to definitely check in with our office, whether that's through email, our advisor on demand through web courses, or if you need to come in and make an appointment. That way we can discuss through email or in person what the best strategy is, because it could be that you might need to take 1 or 2 classes. And I know people have financial aid requirements. Other than financial aid requirements, if you need to take a lighter load for yourself, then that's advantageous. If you're just not sure of what to take at all, then definitely contact our office to discuss, your game plan.
Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about that. And if you're just joining us again, Dr. Koglas, and we're here on Ask an Advisor Live, and I have for you a brand new academic advisor. And if you log in right now, you're going to find out how to reach this academic advisor, because Mrs. Johnson, our academic advisor, is in the office now and available. So, Ms. Johnson, how do you want students to be able to reach you? What's the best way a student can find you? What's the steps? They're a student and they're like, I need to find an academic advisor. How can they make sure they see you?
Right. So again, through email is absolutely fine to, send some questions if you want to do it that way. My email is k.johnson@ucf.edu.
And our handy dandy of background staff over there, which we love, is going to go ahead and put that into the comments so people can see it.
And you can also meet with me in person. That's absolutely fine. I have walk-in availability as well as appointment availability. Now, the university is closed after tomorrow. I have some openings tomorrow, though, if you want to jump on that. Next week, beginning with Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, there will be walk-ins in the morning. Tuesdays are in the afternoon. And then for appointments, Tuesday mornings, and then Monday, Thursday afternoons. I know that's a lot, so they're going to hook you up and give you that information further. But basically, you can find me in the office suite. We're in HPA 1, so that's Health and Public Affairs 1, room 343. And if it's outside of that time frame or whatnot, you can always email me. If it's a quick question I can answer, I'll come out and answer you. I'm very student friendly because it is all about you, ladies and gents. So whatever you need, I'm here to help you out.
Okay, great. So we actually have a question coming up for us now, and I don't know who's the question from. Okay, so we've got a question on the override process and how students go about getting overrides. So I think, Ms. Johnson, you and I have talked about this, that the best way for students to get an override, and so let's talk about this, because I know a lot of students aren't sure what overrides are.
Right.
It's kind of funny. We were doing an orientation, and we actually had somebody ask us, what is an override? Right. And so you guys get kind of an understanding. Overrides are when we administratively give you permission to get into a class that the class might be closed for whatever reason, or you might not meet the prerequisites, or the computer for whatever reason might be preventing you from enrolling. Okay, So if you're asking for an override into one of our courses, what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to email either myself, drk@ucf.edu, or email Mrs. Johnson and ask us for your override. We're going to need to know your UCF ID. We're going to need to know what class and section you want into, and we're going to need to know why you want into that section. And so please don't tell me you need it for your major, because I'm going to guess you need it for your major. We need a little bit more information. And then we will email you back as soon as we know whether we're able to process that override for you. Okay? So, we've got another question up there for you. Ms. Johnson, this is a good question. Now, you're the academic advisor for our department. Are you going to be helping students who are online students?
So, our online point of contact is Dr. Kristal, but I am more than happy to talk with students about any questions that they might have. A tag team effort, to me, works just fine. Whether a student is online in Mississippi or online in Jacksonville or whatever the case may be, the program is the program. So we can discuss those questions as well.
And our online students, as well as our face-to-face students, can reach you in Advisor on Demand, right?
Yes. Okay. Advisor on Demand, which is through web courses.
Right.
So you just log on there and it shows up as a course. If you just click on the view all, you will see Advisor on Demand. And there's a lot of questions out there that students have asked. So oftentimes it could be someone has already asked a question that you're wondering, and you can find a ton of information there.
Right. So, and let me cover this right now. So, Mrs. Johnson, you're not up at 3 a.m. on Advisor on Demand.
Although it's on demand, there's, hours for that demand.
So normally we would get back to people probably within about 24 to 48 hours on Advisor on Demand.
Right.
Yeah. So you can ask your questions, and you can either ask them on the general questions, or we will get something to you, specifically you, through Advisor on Demand. And definitely reach out to us through that resource. There's a lot of stuff going on there. Let's see, we've got another one. Do I need to meet with an advisor when I file an intent to graduate? This is a good question, because we have this one pop up a lot.
Yeah. So you will get a pop-up when you file your intent to graduate that you should meet with your advisor, or that you must meet with an advisor. Please know that meeting with our office is not going to hinder or guarantee graduation. So you don't necessarily have to meet with us, but it's all the way up to you. It's completely up to you on whether you would like to follow up with us once you file your intent to graduate, but not a hard line mandatory. No, it's not.
Okay, so what should a student do when maybe that's a good point to move into is, can you walk a student who's getting ready to graduate? So they're finishing this semester and they're thinking to themselves, oh, thank you, sweet baby Jesus, I'm ready to graduate next semester. What steps should that student take, like from right now, getting through exams, getting ready for their graduation in the spring? What steps should they be doing?
So the spring intent to graduate is still available. It came out last month. It will be up probably until February or March, if I had to give you a guesstimated time frame.
And if you're not sure, where should they check for that date?
Well, the academic calendar gives a soft deadline of December.
Okay.
But that intent to graduate will be up until the summer one comes in its place. And the summer one won't come up until, May or March or, end of March.
Okay.
So we just basically go by that rollout time frame that students tend to panic when they see I should have filed my intent in December. But lo and behold, it's still out there for them to file after that.
Okay.
So they will file their intent to graduate, make sure that they've registered for all the appropriate coursework, check their degree audit to make sure that everything is saying satisfied. Another thing to keep in mind is, although you're registering for spring, if something says not satisfied, it means you haven't met it even with your spring classes. So it could be that you need another elective or something like that. So reviewing your degree audit and making sure that it says everything is satisfied is the number one priority. There really are no surprises unless something doesn't pan out between fall and spring semester. Because we're not going to withhold your graduation if you're on track and you're meeting your requirements. So as long as you review that degree audit and make sure everything is in order, go into the ceremony commencement website, which for spring, that will be updated after the spring semester has begun, to tell you when you'll be ordering your cap and gown and all of that.
Okay. So they don't necessarily need to make an appointment with you as long as they've filed that intent to graduate.
Right.
And their audit looks good.
Right.
And you or I or USS only gets in touch with them if something is out of line.
Exactly. Undergraduate Student Services, the College Advising Office will email you and call you if something is not in order and you're not clear to graduate.
Okay.
So
don't panic if it
Right.
says you have to come meet with us, because you really don't. That's
Right.
There are some majors. Now understand there are majors at the university that require
Right.
that, but we're not one of them.
Exactly.
Okay. So there's another question on the board that says, I keep getting told to use my Knight's email when I request an appointment. Why is this? Why are we so sticklers about this Knight's email?
Well, the NICE email is the official means of communication with the university. So whether you want to email us or you want to email your advisor, is through your NICE email. Your personal email accounts will not suffice. That's why every student had to create a NICE email. So it's to protect you and also to protect ourselves.
Right. Now, there's actually, and most of you guys have heard this nice little acronym out there. It's called FERPA, and that's the law.
Yeah.
And we're trying to comply with the law. And that's why we will always kick back your emails that don't come from your Knight's email.
Right.
So just make sure you have that one out there. Okay. We have another question out there which says, well, this one's kind of an easy one there. Where can I find my degree audit? And sometimes, people who are just getting started, they're not used to this.
Right.
So maybe that's a good starting place for them, is understanding their audit.
Right. So when you go into your MyUCF, when you click on Student Self-Service, the first thing that comes up is your class schedule and your personal information. To the left of your class schedule is a little drop-down box that says Other Academic. Click on Other Academic and your MyNight audit is right in there. And there's a lot of options in that Other Academic area. You can go there for questions about adding a minor on or anything like that. And when you go to your MyNight audit, the first thing that comes up is the interactive audit, which you can actually use to register for your courses. When you click on View as PDF, you can view that for, coming in for your advising appointments and things like that. So there's 2 tools for reviewing what you need to graduate through your MyNight audit.
And speaking of their audit, should students who are coming to see you, should they bring their audit with them?
I would ask you to do so. I won't hardline require, but I'll definitely ask you to do so. That way you can follow along. You can ask me questions about it. You can understand the different areas, because the audit is very detailed, and there's a lot of things that come in and students want to know, well, did this transfer in? And I can show you and explain to you what's there and that kind of thing. So it is very helpful to bring it in. If you happen to not bring it in, I will have it up on the computer for us to discuss.
And I guess this is something a lot of students really don't understand, is that audit represents like their catalog year, right? And that's kind of their contract with the university on what their degree requires.
Right.
So it's really important for students to kind of understand that.
Right.
Because we can't really bend those rules on what that audit and what that degree says.
Right.
That's what they have to meet.
Right. Exactly.
Right? Okay. So we have a question about, how do they make an appointment with you?
All right, so you can call our office, 407-823-1670. You can stop by. Again, we're in HPA 1, 343. Or you can email me, k.johnson@ucf.edu. Either one of those routes will work just fine.
Okay. So in terms of, we've got another question up there. It says, so I guess a student, we're going to say this is kind of a general question. So say a student has a hold and they're having trouble enrolling. And there are lots of different reasons a student can have a hold, right?
Yeah.
So what should they do with that scenario? And I guess sometimes for students, holds can be somewhat overwhelming, because it's like, we think about the university as this, we like to think of it as, a place where we're all familiar and we know everybody, but for, I guess, a student, it can be kind of overwhelming.
Right.
So how would you tell students to handle holds, or can you help them with holds?
So I would say make sure you're being adamant about checking your MyUCF, because anytime you have a hold, it's usually before the registration time frame has started. So oftentimes it's been there since August, after the fall semester has started. Not to call anyone out if that's your situation, or it could have went on last month, or whatever the case may be. But make sure that you go to that hold and see what it is, see what it's for, and contact that office to get the situation taken care of. Because likely they're trying to reach you about something. So just make sure that you get it taken care of and you get it off of there so that you can go ahead and proceed with your registration.
All right. And you can help them if they're absolutely stuck. You can't lift holds necessarily.
Right.
You're not you're not financial
I don't have
aid,
that.
You're not health services. You're not, and, whatever it might be.
Right.
But you can definitely help point them in the right direction.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right. So let's see. We've got another question up there. It says, can you help me plan multiple semesters or just one semester in advance?
We can discuss multiple semesters. I will say that when it comes to, other years going forward, it is subject to change. So for example, the summer 2017 schedule is still available, and it tends to mirror summer 2018 and onward, but there is some variation sometime. So I can definitely say, okay, here's a tentative rubric for you, but come back once that, schedule actually becomes available. But we can definitely talk about, okay, taking this and that and this and that and when you should take it, or, that kind of thing. Most of the classes in the program, as far as the electives, you should always be able to find something. Entertainment law, world legal systems, contemporary issues. There will always be something to give you those credits.
And I guess the question also is sometimes you should just be checking in because you may not have a good semester.
Right.
And that plan's going to have to change.
Exactly. So while we like to forecast and let you know, okay, this is where you can expect to, possibly be graduating, but it is very, very tentative. There's nothing set in stone. If your plans change, then that changes the master plan. So that's just something to bear in mind.
Yeah. So I guess that's part of the thing is in advising is, students have to be, I guess, and maybe that's it. It's not your job to necessarily plan their life for them. Mm-hmm. They have to be participants in this activity with you, and they've got to be, work with you in terms of what the reality is of what they're doing. Right,
because this major has a lot of offerings. So you have your electives, your core that you absolutely have to have. But in terms of the electives, like going back to what I said, you can change, the different courses that if trial advocacy is not available, then take world legal systems. If entertainment law is not available, then take, something else. So while we can say, hey, you can take these group of courses, if you decide to take something else from the electives, then no harm, no foul with that.
Okay. So we have a question that's up there that says, can I bring my mom to my appointments?
Oh, boy. So we just opened Pandora's box, I guess. There is FERPA, going back to that.
Okay, so let's talk about that.
So whenever someone else wants to be present, whether it's a relative or friend, there's
a boyfriend, a girlfriend.
Right, there is a FERPA form that students have to sign to say, I release those rights for this specific advising session. And that's up to that student to do that. So, short answer, yes.
As long as they're willing to...
Exactly.
As long as they're willing to
We've
sign
had it happen before. So, yeah.
Okay. So, would they... And I guess maybe that's the question is, maybe if they're planning on bringing somebody with them, they should let you know before...
Let us know, absolutely.
Let you know beforehand so that you can have those forms ready.
Absolutely.
Okay. That's good. That's good to know. Let's see. We've got, if I'm a legal studies minor, should I meet with you or with the advisor for my major? So they're not a legal studies major, but they're doing a legal studies minor.
They can absolutely meet with me about the minor. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the minors, for most people, and I guess this is something that I know a lot of students get confused with, the minor is just a shorter version.
Exactly.
And
18 hours.
It's 18 hours right now. So, yay, because we just made some changes. So it's a wonderful place. Okay. Let's see. We've got another question up there. It says, I'm interested in becoming a legal studies major. Can I meet with you before I declare?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We can talk to perspectives.
You'll talk to prospective students now. Okay, so let's talk about that. We always are hoping that we're reaching students that are thinking about coming to UCF, right? So, and if you're just tuning in, this is Dr. K, and this is Ask an Advisor Live, and I'm sitting here with our brand new academic advisor, Mrs. Kristal Johnson. And Mrs. Johnson, she's our brand new advisor, but she's not brand new to advising. She's come to us with a long history of advising. And we are always hoping we're reaching students out there who are planning on coming to UCF, and they're wondering what great things go on in the legal studies department. But what if you're a student at UCF and you're in another major and it's just not the right fit for you?
Right.
What are the concerns and things that you should really think about when you're switching majors?
Right. So it's good to have that conversation with yourself or with your peers or whatnot early on before you invest a lot of credits into a specific area. So if you've taken a lot of classes totally on another spectrum, then you have to think about the hours that you're going to have to complete with a legal studies degree. When it comes down to it, if you're really certain about changing, or if you're like on the fence about changing, then you can make an appointment to meet with me and we can discuss how many credit hours you would have, to make that transition. But that's the main thing that comes into play with major changes is just excess hours and then timeliness to graduate. But I always say, look at what your passion is, what your goal is, and we can discuss that further.
And you brought up an interesting topic there that I know is confusing for me, and that means it's just got to absolutely confuse the bejesus out of our students, which is excess credit hours.
Yep.
I mean, that's like one of those bad words out there in the university. What exactly are excess credit hours, and what should our students be on the lookout for?
So excess hours is a percentage that students will be charged once they've come to what's called the baseline. When students have test credit, when they have AP credit, well, I don't want to go too in depth, but certain credits don't count towards excess hours.
Okay.
And your college credits, for the most part, count towards excess hours. So anything that you take, anything that you withdraw, anything that you repeat will count towards your excess. So it can get very specific. The best thing I can tell you to do as a student is to log into your MyUCF and click on the excess hour counter. The excess hour counter will tell you, okay, you have a certain number of credit hours before you reach the excess hour surcharges. And it is, one of those things where it's like, oh, I don't want that to happen because it's an additional charge on the tuition.
And that's why they should really think about it when they start deciding, do I want to switch majors a whole bunch of times?
Right.
Because I think that's kind of like, maybe it's kind of like a running joke maybe with students is like, I'm on my fourth major.
Right.
Or I'm on my fifth major, but that will eventually start to cost you.
It can be very costly, absolutely.
Yeah, so that's really something that you should think about.
Mm-hmm.
So Ms. Johnson, how often do you think students should be coming in to get advising help? What do you think? I mean, I know that students are different. You've got those students out there who are really on track. They get it. They understand it. Mm-hmm. I know, God bless you. I know we've got those lost souls out there who need advising every,
And there's nothing
every
wrong
week.
With it.
Every week.
Every week. Oh, okay.
But I mean,
every semester is a good idea, in my opinion. I think that's the best way to go about it. That you're scheduling yourself out for that upcoming semester. I think that's the one of the wisest way to do it. I mean, you have to do what works for you, but I think that is the best way to say, okay, I've been following this plan, and it's nice to see when they followed the plan that was laid out, and that plan went well. They're doing well in their classes, and now they're going to take the next plan, and then they're not that far off from graduating. They might be graduating in summer or something like that. So meeting with us every semester before registration is a good idea.
Yeah, and they could do that. Maybe they just start a relationship with you where they're emailing you.
Exactly.
And they're just checking in, and they're like, okay, and you'll have those emails, and you can be like, okay, so we're moving along nicely, and that doesn't necessarily mean they have to come in.
Yeah, you don't necessarily have to come in. Yeah,
right.
It's fine. I don't bite, but you can email me. You can email me. That's fine.
So, and that's something that's I guess it's important for some of our students to know, because we have a lot of students, and especially in our major, who don't necessarily live right around this area.
Right.
We have a lot of commuter students.
Right.
They can email you from that standpoint.
Absolutely.
And we're in the process of setting up so you can do Skype and you can do video conferencing with students. Right. So they don't necessarily have to think that they have to drive an hour and a half to come and see you.
And speaking of that, I was told we're using Zoom.
Zoom, okay.
For video conferencing at this point. So it's zoom.us.
Zoom.us, and that's a free account, isn't it? Yeah, so it's zoom.us.
Nothing to download. It's not going to take up space. It's just a platform to use.
Right. So they'll be able to set up that appointment with you, and then they can video conference you.
Absolutely.
And that way you can interact with them. And
absolutely.
Because come on, how many of you all don't have cameras on your laptops, phones, or iPads?
Right.
Really? Okay. Oh, and there's even an
app.
There's even an app on your phone available. So, no excuses. All right. So, and I guess that answers one of the questions that we have out there is are you going to be doing any phone advising?
Not at this point. Skype, the Zoom platform and email, advisor on demand, those are the resources for students to utilize. The advisor on demand, students can inbox the advisor directly. They can post a discussion, as long as, again, it's not anything personal or specific. But there's a lot of questions in that discussion related to internship, related to study abroad and all of that there's a lot of questions from other students that you might find the answer to. But again, more than willing and happy to help you out.
Okay, so if you're just joining us, I'm Dr. K, and we're here on Ask an Advisor Live. And as I've said before, I am here with Ms. Kristal Johnson, who's our academic advisor. And yay! And like I said, shout out to you in Undergraduate Student Services Advising. Love you, Miss Renty. Love you, Miss Archer. But she's mine now. Okay? She's ours. We love her up here. So we have a couple more questions up on the board. One of the questions that I have is, do I have to be a major related to law or a College of Health and Public Affairs student to get a legal studies minor?
No, you do not. That minor is open for you to pick. You can add it in your MyUCF if you're certain about adding it. The thing about adding a minor, you can always drop it. If you add a certificate, you can always drop it. You don't have to, you're not tied to that thing.
And maybe can you explain to students the difference between minors and certificates?
Sure. So minors are very interdisciplinary in a way, just because oftentimes it will allow you to grab courses within that department without being tied to this, that, and certificates. There's a little bit of interdisciplinary there, but a lot of it is courses within that field. So for instance, with the legal studies minor, you have to have law in the legal system, and then your other coursework build off of legal studies classes, and then there's an area in there for elective. So again, you can add the minor in your MyUCF portal. You can go to the catalog and look at the minor to give you more information about it if you're not wanting to add it on. But again, if you add it on in your MyUCF, you can always drop it. Not to say that we want you to do that, but just to give you that information.
And that's something else. Can you change a student's major or minor?
Absolutely not.
Who has to do that? Because that's something that students are always like, I need to change my minor. Well, they come in and they ask us, and what's the rule on that?
Right. They need to do that themselves. Only they have access to that information. you wouldn't want anyone else to be able to have access to that information. You wouldn't want us to be able to have access to add you to a class or anything like that. You have those tools. You can use it on your phone or your laptop, your iPad, what have you, to be able to access that information yourself, because you are in control. You know, you're behind that driving the steering wheel, so to speak. So.
All right. We have another question about transfer courses. So if a student has questions about courses that will transfer over, so should they come see you about what classes could potentially transfer from another university?
Sure. When it comes to transfer courses, that gets very, very specific.
Right. There's a lot of questions we have to have answered before we'll go into what can get transferred and what can't.
Exactly.
So what's the best way for them to do that? Should they email you about their courses that they're wondering, or should they just make an appointment?
They can email me. I'm absolutely fine with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So while we're talking about this, what are some of your goals or dreams for advising in legal studies? What do you hope some of the things you can accomplish are?
For one, for the program to continue to flourish and grow, for us to attract more and more students, for us to continue to provide all of our services and resources, things that are complementary to a student's undergraduate career, and for students to become more and more avid in their experience, because it's nothing like putting what you're learning in the classroom to use in the world, in the sector. So to continue to see, you know, those opportunities, and for us to continue to acquire more opportunities. Our internships is very, you know, vast and diverse, and for that continue to increase. And
you can help students figure out how to plan internships into their basically their degree, and when's the best time to do them, and that's part of advising, is figuring out, when you should be doing what coursework with the LSAT and everything else, for them to really kind of figure that out.
Absolutely.
Because sometimes students really don't know which way to go with that. Okay, so. And we've got a question going up right now, and it says, can you advise me on potential career paths?
Sure, we can discuss that in terms of what other students have done, what some of that trend has been. But like I like to tell students, you can blaze your own path. I mean, you really can, but we can definitely discuss the possibilities, because not everyone goes to law school.
Right.
One of our colleagues is a legal studies graduate and is, on the advising spectrum. So there's a lot of different things that students can do with the legal studies degree. I
think that's really important for students to know. They always sometimes assume that it's all law school or nothing. Mm-hmm. But if you're interested in law school, you can help them get there. And if they're interested in other paths, we can go down that road as well.
Right.
Okay. So in terms of, say, students who are just coming to UCF, do you have any advice for them, for people who are just coming into UCF, and how to reach us or how we can work with them?
I would say, don't wait until you've been here so long and you feel like, okay, I can't go as a new student. Get your feet wet. Find out what's going on. There's a lot of volunteer opportunities. There's a lot of student organizations, major related student organizations. Talking with your instructors, starting that rapport right off the bat is a good idea, and not waiting until, hey, I'm about to graduate, can you write me a reference letter, and they don't know who you are from the man under the moon. So just having those conversations, and making sure that you're alert to what's going on. I know some of you might be working full-time or what the case may be, but there's always some kind of outlet or hub for you to plug into. In terms of resources, I feel like the university is overflowing with resources. Just about every question that you have, someone else has already asked it, and there's a service or an office already set up for that. So we tend to refer students out when there's something that is specific to something in particular, like financial aid. If you have a financial aid question, we'll refer you to financial aid, and they have a lot of resources and things like that with their office, for example.
So and here's a question. So somebody happens to see this and they're not a legal studies major. Can you still help them?
See what?
Somebody sees our video. Okay? Somebody's watching us on Facebook. Somebody watches this later on, and they're like, you know what? This lady sounds like she knows what she's doing, but I'm not a legal studies major. Would you still be willing to talk to them and at least point them in the right direction? I
could point them in the right direction, but I will not advise anything outside of my gamut.
So if they just say, you know what, Ms. Johnson looks like she's got it going on. So, you know, they come in and they say, you know, I'm just not sure if I should be taking this many classes. I've got family. I've got this concern. Will you just be willing to listen?
I can listen, but at the end of the day, you need to talk to your advisors in your department, because
maybe that's the best advising you can do.
Yes, that is their goal. You know, we all have a goal to help our students, help our cohort get to graduation, and they would be the best ones to say, this is what you need to be doing. So I'm not gonna put another hat on that doesn't fit my head.
Okay, so we've got 2 questions before we go, and apparently Dr. Smith, our chair, is watching. You know, she's actually like our Facebook Yeti. I've heard she's on Facebook, but there are very few sightings of her. So the fact that she's watching us is amazing. So thanks, Dr. Smith, for watching us. And so I got 2 questions left for you, and I guess the first one is: can somebody do all of our program online?
Yes.
All right.
So legal studies is an online degree. Students should have the general education program completed, all of their GEP, because there's no guarantee on those offerings. But our legal studies degree, yes, absolutely.
And that includes a minor too.
Absolutely.
So they could do a minor as well as legal studies online with all of the offerings that we have on there. Okay. And I guess this is Dr. K, and we are basically closing down our Ask an Advisor Live. And one last question we've got up there is: what is your favorite part of being an advisor?
Seeing them at the finish line. Seeing the students at the finish line. Not that I'm trying to say, hey, get out the door, but getting students to completion. I feel like that is the cream of the crop. And sometimes they feel like, you know, it's bittersweet because they've been here for X amount of time, you know, and now it's finally at the end. So having that congratulatory conversation, and I've sent a few recently through email. So knowing that this is it, I'm wrapping it up. I think that's the deal for me.
It feels good to like help somebody get through this whole process, you know?
Right.
Because they're the ones that you know are going to make it through no matter what.
Right.
And you really didn't do that much to get them through.
Right.
But it's the ones that you feel like, you know,
right,
at some point in time they were stuck.
Yes.
And you helped them, you made the difference.
Yes.
Those are the ones that you're like,
yes.
when you see that intent to graduate, you're like,
I saved one of those emails actually for one of those kind of situations, because the student was like, thank you so much. And it's like, I helped you get there, but you did all the work.
Right, yeah.
And they finally, you know, got there after some.
And then they're the ones that you're just waiting for the grades to come in. And you're like, please. Yes, they did it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
All right. Well, we're going to wrap it up here. I hope you guys enjoyed meeting our new advisor, Mrs. Kristal Johnson. And guess what? You can see her every day, Monday through Friday, in the Legal Studies office, not just on Facebook Live. You know. We wanted. What is it? Do I still? Oh, do you still email Dr. K?
No.
Oh, no. You don't still email Dr. K. Okay? So the rules now have changed a little bit in this game. I am program coordinator, so as I like to say, I am Tom Sizemore to Dr. Smith's Tom Hanks in Saving Private Ryan. I am not the big boss. I am there to help in program coordination and anything else. In terms of advising, Mrs. Johnson is the one who's going to be doing all the advising, so you need to direct your questions to her. Anything in terms of overrides or course substitutions, those still do come to me and Dr. Smith, and we work out the questions and answers on those. and things like can I take 18 hours in a semester, etc. Ms. Johnson and I don't make those decisions. Those are made by the chair. We send those on up the chain, and after consideration we'll get back to you and let you know what the decisions are. I'll be available still in the office for walk-ins, for general questions, and I'll still be helping Mrs. Johnson if busy times and things get overloaded. But no, she's all yours. Okay, and feel free to visit her, and often. So on this day, it is Tuesday afternoon, the week of Thanksgiving. Everyone here at the Legal Studies Office, we want to wish you guys a happy Thanksgiving. Yes, we want you to enjoy your week with family and friends. Please, please, please drive safely this week. We want to make sure you all make it to your homes and back to campus safely. So drive safely, travel safely, fly safely, do whatever it is you're going to do safely. And we hope to see you guys again next month. So, go Knights, continue to win, charge on.
Bye-bye.